When you think Fallout, there are probably a few images that appear in your head. Big Iron, Liberty Prime, all the different ways to torment Mama Murphy, dog meat, the list goes on and on. But you probably think about nuclear war too. So what if you could harness the power of a nuclear war, tone it down by like 99%, and use it as a weapon? Can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only a fat man? After giving myself a callback name to a simpler time, I began making my character. I had some great ideas for what he should look like, but things kinda got out of hand, and somehow I created a 4th generation inbred monstrosity coming from the Paul X Paulina bloodline. As for special points, the Fat Man is an explosives weapon, if you can believe that, which makes the build based around perception. However, something we've never really experienced before in a run is the strength requirement, which greatly complicates things. You can use any weapon regardless of your strength, it's just not going to be a great experience. Strength of 8 to use the Fat Man effectively eats up a good amount of points. I put the rest in intelligence for obvious reasons, and luck, because fat men are not cheap, and neither are the things they fire from themselves. Prior to selecting my skills, I played around with an idea, a first of its kind idea. What if I was Doc Mitchell? I almost sorta look like him, or maybe his brother who was dropped by our family's least favorite uncle shortly after being born. I sat in his seat to see how it feels to be him. I wanted to know what happens if you never do the interview. I'll tell you now that this went off the rails faster than most things do, except for the Wii Sports video. That was a clusterfuck of an idea that surpassed what even I thought was possible. I eventually sped up the game by 1,000,000%. I can't be bothered to do the math on this, but if my math is correct, something like 3,000 in-game days are passing every hour. Don't think for an instant that it didn't destroy the game. It did, quite badly. Setting the time scale back to 1 broke both my legs on a cosmic scale, which gave me the idea for a jump-only video, but it seems that our universe died in that disaster, and in this new universe, walking simply isn't a thing. Doc Mitchell wasn't going anywhere. I had to quit the game to fix it. Onto the skills after wasting so much time. Skills were barter because my future is going to be frustrating enough as it is. Medicine, to endure the pain of everyday life by numbing my entire body with substances. And explosives, to turn that pain into ways to hurt others. Traits were skilled for the same reason as always, and fast trigger. The Fat Man fires slowly enough as it is. The 20% fire rate bonus is going to vastly outweigh the accuracy penalty. The thing about the Fat Man is that there are only 8 of them you can find in New Vegas, and ammo is even more rare. Oddly enough, despite being harder to find in New Vegas than Fallout 3, they also do significantly less damage. I truly cannot believe it. After all these years, I finally found a flaw in Fallout New Vegas. It probably goes without saying that my first destination was the Strip. Can't attack anything until I get my arms around a fat man, and I didn't want to be limited by only having a few nukes. This means I need caps out the ass. With my eyes on the prize, I rebooted the mission and began my journey through Cazador Canyon. It could have gone worse. I managed to lure a baby into a group of Cazadors to see who would win. The baby fought well, taking down 2 babies of the rival species. I tried to trick one of its parents into getting into a rumble with the flying parents, but all I got was a stinger in my ass for trying to cause a commotion on Mulberry Street. It wouldn't be the first time I've done that. My great-grandmother lives on a Mulberry Street, and when I was little, my uncle hit me in the face with a snowball, and I screamed as loudly as I possibly could. Because I was in the area, I discovered Red Rock Canyon to save myself some time down the human experience timeline. As I rounded the northern boundaries of the Strip, I got assaulted by fiends, and I noticed an old and familiar friend. The kind of friend who makes a long post on Facebook about how people need to remember who their real friends are because you two got into an argument about which person came up with the name for your Modern Warfare 2 clan. The game also started getting really stuttery, which was quite annoying. Part of me wants to do a Mitten Prime run similar to the mod interference problem where the game has no textures. If anyone knows how to make that happen, find me on Twitter, if you dare, and let me know. Don't say anything about the wireframe console command. I know all about that. Thanks to the power of exchanging goods and/or services for other goods and/or services, I got myself up to 2,000 caps, entered the Strip, waltzed into Gamora like I was a health inspector worried about half the building not existing, got myself some chips, went ahead and exited the game because I don't like recordings to be too long, and my save would not load back into the game. This was probably the biggest save corruption problem I've ever faced in all my decades of doing these challenges. challenges. Loading old saves didn't do anything. I could not get into this save anymore. Reactivating NMC's 3-part texture pack didn't fix it, nor did doing the same thing to my other mods. Disabling them altogether and loading the vanilla game was also not my savior. This save, Hey Peter, is forever delegated to the land of forgotten characters. You know, the people you only ever see once in your life? That's where they live. Eager to do this idea because it was a Wednesday afternoon and I wouldn't have another opportunity to do anything until Friday afternoon, I cheated my way back to where I'd gotten in the first save. In retrospect, I think playing with the speed of the universe may have been what caused this. I gave myself some console command powers to quickly retrace my steps back to the strip. I dropped all the weapons I'd had, tried to match my inventory as quickly and as accurately as possible, discovered the same locations, gave myself exactly 2,000 caps as that's how many I had in the practice round, and soon enough I was on my way to the strip. But that's when it happened. I got challenged to a street race. For a while there, I wasn't sure if I could pull out a victory, what because of the Cazador stinger, but I channeled my inner turtle by not wearing shoes and won the race. From there, I went back to Gamora, where I gambled until I got kicked out. With roughly 11,100 caps to my name, I skedaddled to the gun store to buy me a kid's version of a World War conflict-ending toy. I had a decision to make. Do I buy a fat man, or do I buy his cool Aunt Esther, who lets me eat my dinner in the shower? Both the regular and Esther are fat men, and spending more on a weapon would leave me with less ammo, and there's nothing I love more than contradicting myself. I could have scavenged the wasteland and eventually found a few darts, but that would have made it closer to a pacifist run than a weapon-restricted challenge. If I only attack like 8 things in the entire playthrough because ammo is so scarce, it almost ruins the point of the challenge. Needing a higher military budget, I entered the tops, next for more gambling. Completely forgot about finishing a quest by entering this place, dumped the points into both barter and explosives, gambled my way to the greatest day of my life, besides the day in the future when a certain special someone finally dies and I can spit on their grave in front of their grieving family. I had trash can filling ravioli luck inside the White Glove Society, mainly because I made some decisions that some people may consider stupid, like staying on a 5 and a 6. I got kicked out of all 3 casinos once again, but wait. There's more. I also went to the Atomic Wrangler and gambled more. Completely forgot about this place. I haven't been in here since I inquired about what happens if you put Fisto through the Pack-a-Punch machine. The payouts aren't as high and you can't win as much overall, but it's still another option for getting about 5,000 caps if you've got enough luck. Then again, if you've already gotten kicked out of all 3 casinos and still need more caps, odds are you're a high-level character and can sell high-end weapons for easy caps, which would make what I just said irrelevant. I guess this advice is for future me. I cannot wait to see how future me contradicts current me. With the most caps I've ever had in my life without cheating, I obtained the deed to Esther's soul, bought 3 big kid mini nukes, 2 low yield, 1 timed, and 3 conjoined twin post-separation all fired from a cannon toddler mini nukes. I bought all those 10 items and still had 12,000 caps left. I almost immediately regretted my decision to buy the higher end model. I don't need all this Esther. Before continuing on my merry way, I tested each mini nuke, then reloaded a save because these is valuable items, to see how they performed. You might be wondering what wacky shenanigans our old buddy Paul got up to next. I stood in place, motionless, for 4 days. Back to the gunnery mall I went to buy more nukes. But for the moment, I only did this one time, not until I drained all my caps like in other videos. I did sorta try though. The pancake troll face under the bridge at 188 Trading Post can sell nukes too, but only if you pass a skill check, which I could not. As a pair of feral puppies feasted on my tuchus, I realized what I had to do, and so to Boulder City I went. Monroe let me in because I promised to help, and I blew up his soldiers. Turns out that the timed mini nuke bounces like a motherfucker. I can't think of any weapon or ammo type that acts like my brother's skull. After that time, I ran a bunch of bungee cords across our open garage door at neck height, and he ran into them and clotheslined himself. Good times. Not as good as the time I threw a baseball bat at his face, or put hot sauce on his toothbrush, or turned on a drill and pressed it into his thigh. Little cried after that last one. God, 7-year-olds are so stupid. The timed nukes can also be used as projectiles and do large amounts of damage to the target while still exploding. Don't know exactly how much, but it's enough to kill a weakling by shoving it through their skull via their mouth. I was surprised that even Monroe himself joined in the fun. Equally surprising was how the Great Khans ain't give a shit when I let their birthday party pinatas loose. Veronica immediately fled from me, kinda odd. I give off very friendly vibes to all people. The Paul you see is only a character. I only think and act like a maniac, but I'm not actually one. Then again, I did spend 25 minutes laying in bed on Thanksgiving night trying to think of how I could steal a dozen rolls of toilet paper from my parents' house without them noticing. It didn't work out. I only got one, and it was probably the most obvious one I could have taken. Don't ask what that means. I got Veronica to get me inside the bunker so I could buy more ammo, just to have another option. Remembered that a companion killing rad scorpions vacationing near the bunker would violate one of my non-disclosure agreements, so instead I used the eye candy that is my body to lure all the rad scorpions into an angry mob, blasted them all alongside myself, and left I don't know what that was, and left one survivor stuck in the ground to tell passersby about what happened on this fateful day. Unfortunately, inside the bunker I could buy nothing. What I could do though was glitch myself inside the armory and steal about 14,000 caps worth of power armor. Even after talking to the elder and agreeing to help, the vendor would still not sell me her rounded goodies with a wide base. Before continuing on with whatever I was going to do, I bought a weapon mod for Esther. It was not meant to be. It was not her size. I didn't return it for store credit, which could be used to buy more food. I kept it near her to taunt her. If you think that's f***ed up, you're right, she is f***ed up. The mod cuts her weight in half. All she'd have to do is cut off both her legs and maybe half an arm. But she just doesn't get it. She can't see the full picture of what we'd be accomplishing if she let me cut her f***ing legs off. The big boy did far more damage inside the tops than I would have thought. From a decent distance, it killed me. I really thought the tiny tots were going to be the star of the show, but the tiny ones do so little damage on their own. However, they are really useful in ensuring you don't miss if you're only going after one or two innocent civilians who just happen to be in the right place at the right time when you decided to commit war crimes. At level 6, I took the Demolition Expert perk to make explosive weapons do 20% more damage. I met with Yes Man because, come on, this is a Mitten Squad video. I went ahead and bartered with the underground medical woman for healing supplies, bought some ammo, and entered Mr. House's dojo to black out and wake up in his basement with no way out. I noticed something while I was down there. The barrier doesn't go all the way to the ceiling. There's a gap, and I just so happened to have a kind of ammo that would bounce off the ceiling and fall to the ground before exploding, taking with it the Securitrons, performing Mr. House's demonstration. My plan worked to perfection. The game is stuck. With the Securitrons dead, Bobby won't continue to stroke his ego, and the elevator doesn't work. The game is in a soft lock. The second time down there, again, curiosity got the better of me. I spied, with one of my gigantic eyes, a terminal over yonder. I wanted to know what was on it. One console command later, there was nothing there. But it wasn't just a piece of the environment. There was an option in the terminal that does nothing, despite the fact that you can't get over there without cheating. After learning that Mr. House's hyperbolic time chamber was capable of withstanding a nuclear strike, I killed him with the nuke itself, took the Demolition Rank 2 Expert perk, and for some reason, collected 100 pounds of pre-war books. If my memory is correct, and it probably isn't, I thought I could collect them all, and then when I couldn't, I tried to collect as many as I could. Then I dropped them on the ground, like the cool kid in the library who causes a ruckus because he isn't very loved by his parents. My next task for myself was the extermination of the Great Khans. This was pretty weird. Things happened here that I can't explain. I laid down a time bomb in their place of worship, maybe shouldn't have said that, and killed all but one person. Their leader is in pieces on his throne. Yet the last man standing didn't care. Thinking I'd just successfully done what past massacres couldn't, I headed north for the airport. After meeting Pearl and hearing that there was a young man with his eyes on a faraway lady, a fun thought entered my mind. The girl he has a crush on. What if I killed her? When he describes her to me, would I have the option to tell him that I blew her up, but I was more sad about the Brahmin who died with her? As it turns out, I don't know. In typical Mitten Squad fashion, I couldn't find him. I did find the hangar filled with beds, didn't even know that place existed, but I could not, for the life of me, find Jack. I even waited in his place of work so I could fill his heart with pain, but the bastard wouldn't dare show his face. Naturally, I considered that an act of war, so I assassinated their leader with a nuclear weapon. It was then I learned that the Great Khans had not yet been dealt with. This was where the weird starts. I killed one guy in front of two others and they got pissed, as expected when you're dealing with crybabies, but nobody else did. The two addicts in the trailer park didn't care. nor did the junkie approaching them. Still not enough, I returned to the sole survivor who had not left his post. I obliterated his post. It was here I began to think that I was a soldier of God, carrying out his will against people who most likely didn't do anything wrong. The big kid proved his worth once more by taking out at least 7 people at once, including myself. But where I really wanted to let this baby loose was at Thanksgiving dinner. I was so excited for it that right after I fired, I slowed down time and activated the free cam to get a close-up look at the carnage. It was good, not really as great as I'd hoped. It only took me 2 more shots to clean up the stragglers and leave 1 person alive again. Mortimer went to the big slaughterhouse casino in the sky. I tried to get Yes Man to protect me from all harm. A simple door did more to help me than that ass kisser. I had me a big confusion when I couldn't figure out why my objective wasn't updating to the Lucky 38 after telling Yes to meet me there. It was a cavalcade of disasters that I won't bother getting into. Just know that it wasn't something stupid, like me not having the right active quest. I would have liked to take out the big NCR cheese with the fat man, but they aren't fans of mine. At level 12, I took the splash damage perk to increase the area of effect for all explosive weapons by 25%. A powerful perk when combined with Esther, explosives at 100, and demolition expert at rank 3. At some point, I can't remember where, Veronica ditched me. I sent a special treat hurtling towards her kneecap. It killed her before the explosion could. An NCR patrol squad stopped me on my way to the Dorito station. You may not believe me when I say this, but I swear to every non-existent god that I didn't plan on killing them. My finger just slipped. At the station, I learned that the big nukes have a hell of an arc to their shot. I failed 4 times, even once with VATS, to get the bomb to their bodies. The problem was, I lacked the high ground. Upon said high ground, I got an almost perfect mushroom cloud among the very wide shaft erupting from the base of the building, activated the thing, went to the dam, and the real game began. I'm not sure what you were expecting this to be like, but it wasn't terrible. The Esther is capable of taking out ground centurions with a single blast. Same goes for the pair of NCR heavy troopers whose skin I peeled off and draped over my body. That little trick also helped me avoid conflict with my fellow bandana-wearing comrades. I also stopped for a brief moment because I thought I noticed Hey Peter 2.0 going into a Naruto run as he put away his weapon. It's probably the closest you're gonna get without mods. With the generators destroyed, I returned to the surface, finally became enemies with the Legion, tried to toss a fallen brother over the edge so his metal body could rest in a better, wetter place. The Legate's camp was even easier than what came before it. Single soldiers stood no chance whatsoever. Then there was the Legate himself. The first thing to point out is that in trying to kill him, I killed myself several times before finally sending him to his final rest. The tots came in handy when I wiped out the Legion's favorite cows. And to round out this experience, there's General Oliver. What even needs to be said? It took longer to pull out of Esther than it did to kill the General. I might have accidentally offed myself when trying to kill Yes Man, attempted to end his brothers as well. It didn't go my way, and despite the heavy emotional damage that came from that, I succeeded in beating Fallout New Vegas with only a fat man. There are many mods available for Fallout New Vegas. Some fix small things you'd probably never notice. Some add new weapons or textures, new characters or new quests. But then there are the mods that add it all, effectively becoming a new DLC for Fallout New Vegas. Can you beat Fallout: The Frontier without taking any damage? Before downloading the mod, I made sure to do no research of any kind. Just like with parallel parking, I wanted to go in blind, with no idea of what to do or how to do it. The only thing I did do was look up the recommended level to start the mod, which happens to be level 11. A few places said 20, but 11 seemed like a good option too. Like with the other DLCs I made videos in millennia ago, I wanted a well-rounded character. I didn't want to be too good at any one particular thing, so I'm borderline bad at everything, and good at almost nothing. I'm perfect. I did pick useful tag skills, perks, and traits to give myself some small help along the way. To go back to the parking analogy, at the very least, I've now got my hands on the wheel, even if I'm still blindfolded. I picked guns, speech, and barter as my skills, and trigger discipline and skilled as my traits. They're the failsafe options to go with if you're never sure what to expect. Then I screamed for 11 straight minutes to level myself up about 11 times to get to the right level to start the DLC. As I leveled up, I distributed my points amongst all skills to even them out and chose Rapid Reload, Educated, Fortune Finder, Jaunty Saunters, a perk that comes with the mod that's extraordinarily useful as a perk you take right off the button, looted a few things, and went outside where I was greeted with an option to skip right to level 12 to begin the mod. That f***ed with my pre-game f***ery, and it's too early into the video to get blasted by two nonsense hoses at the same time. Went back in time, didn't give myself the levels early, let the mod do it, and was almost exactly where I was the first time as far as skill points go, but could only choose from a selection of pre-chosen perks, of which I knew what none of them were, which is unfortunate. Most skills got to 37 or 40. I didn't put any points into medicine or survival, because this is my world. You're just an observer in it. At some point, I set my max health to 1 so that any damage of any kind killed me. Waited an hour, Private John invited me on an expedition to hell, and I traveled to the NCR Frontier Children Campground to sign up for a tour of duty. I've got an arm like you wouldn't believe, gonna take some heads off in dodgeball later. Despite having woken up just about 7 minutes ago, the sergeant is already well aware of my legendary exploits, and I spoke to Gray about what goes on in the Frontier. It's an easy mission. Get pumped full of patriotic propaganda, go find yourself a creative way to get PTSD, and you're rewarded with a lifetime of mental health issues and the bare minimum the NCR is willing to pay you for what you did that you probably didn't need to do in the first place. I really mean that last part. I killed a lot of people for no reason. At one point, it actually started to bother me, but we'll get there. On the road to Portland, Oregon, where this mod takes place, I experienced a first-hand flashback to the fight between the NCR and the Brotherhood of Steel at Helios 1. There's a lot of story exposition that happens here. For now, all I'll say about the voice acting is that it's not bad, it's just that you can tell this is a fan-made mod. Some are pretty good, like General Blackthorn, but others are too over the top or just don't feel like they fit.
You know, I think when I get back, I'm gonna ask that girl to marry me. I even bought this here ring for her. So, might as well go for it, you know what I mean?
Alright, Nomad. Taking the plunge. Holy shit. That must have cost you a year of salary.
Not long later, the real game began in the form of a firefight that already blows anything New Vegas had out of the water. Sucked that it was at night though. Tough to see. I might be a pussy, but I ain't no cat. The Brotherhood soldiers took several shots to kill on easy. One guy fell over and didn't bring his life alert button from home. I put the old boy down, entered Helios 1, went back outside, and was instructed to put down the severely injured soldiers. I won't lie, I was heartbroken that I had no option to be enthusiastic about killing all the soldiers. You can probably guess where this went. I started with one who was really hurt, gradually migrated over to those who might be injured, and eventually just started killing every living person I saw. This is a flashback. They were supposed to die. Whatever happened was always supposed to happen. The universe decided that they must go, and that I must be their Uber driver to the afterlife. As a punishment for make-believe crimes, I was on the receiving end of a 1 minute long panning shot that I could have skipped but didn't. Without any music playing, I stopped the in-game music a while ago. It was boring as hell to watch. General Oliver, with a different voice, promised to give Gray's squad, he's the guy we were just playing as at Helios 1, their freedom as a reward for waging war against the Brotherhood. Fools. All of them. Once you're the government's property, they never let you go. There was a really weird looking cutscene with Blackthorn and some other guy discussing breaking off from the NCR and going to the Frontier. And I died. I have no idea what caused it. I died the instant the load ended. So, you cannot beat Fallout the Frontier without taking any damage. I enabled God mode, absorbed the pain, pushed it all aside because I'm planning on losing my mind when I'm in my early 30s. I'm really looking forward to it, and continued onward. No, I didn't. I could never lie to you. I went back to the bus and skipped the flashback. This game's Lyle Thompson instructed me to report to who I'd be reporting to. There was a logo, and Chapter 1 begins with me tracking down the asshole who stole the truck. Inside the hangar, I went on a little shopping spree with the girls to check out what fun weapons of mass destruction this man, chiseled out of stone, would offer us. Met Hardcase, and started to realize that this mod goes so far overboard with how legendary the courier is that the horse it was beating isn't even dead anymore. It's a f***ing fossil being burned in a factory in Detroit somewhere. It was time for me to run the shooting course, and nothing says shooting course like being pelted with ping pong balls until you die. The worst part is sometimes they don't kill you. Sometimes they make you go all wobbly. The mines aren't real. Then I noticed that I had fucking claws. Unfortunately for me, and for you to an extent, the audio I thought was recording through my IMAX microphone was not recording. I wanted to put my reaction to certain things in the mod in the video, like when I discovered I could abduct children in Skyrim. Thought it would be a fun addition to videos at certain points, but it wasn't meant to be. I finished the contest and was flabbergasted by my time compared to the others. Our first job is to plant landmines on a bridge to stop the Legion from invading. I had to follow Captain Henderson all the way there, which took forever. We stopped and had ourselves a merry little execution of some prisoners of war on the way there, and had to protect the armored bear from rooftop role-playing gamer guys trying to blow little bear's limbs off. You can repair the bear with a long electrocution probing device. The majority of this is not very interesting to watch. I picked off Legion guys when I could, looted their bodies for ammo and toys, and the tank and everyone else did most of the work. There was one spot that gave me trouble, only because an ambush doesn't trigger unless you get to a certain spot, and it's difficult to get to cover without taking damage. I landed some very impressive long-range shots with a squirt gun, took control of a howitzer, blew all the bad guys away, had a hell of a time trying to escape the thing, only to realize it was the space bar that did it, the one button I didn't press, and we arrived at East Portland Metro. With nobody in sight, I set off a fire alert to alert anyone in a 7-mile radius that were here, and were ready to party. Met up with some other guys who were on fire for some reason, and we began laying our mines. One guy blows up, it's a mess, there's another ambush, and I barely made it to cover without dying any more than 8 times. More than that would have been embarrassing. With no reinforcements, our only option was to retreat. We did, but I didn't make it. I got captured by the Legion. I got tortured, not sure why the frame rate's choppy here, it didn't happen in-game. Explained to the walrus that I would not comply with their requests. They brought in another soldier, and it got real interesting real quick. They cut off his arm. They cut off his leg. Still, we remained resolute in our resolve. He screamed for it to stop, but I held out for the both of us. We met in the middle with his ending and mine continuing on. Took damage during my walk of shame. Couldn't do much about it besides give myself some health. You're supposed to be hurt here, and there didn't seem like there would be a way around that. And I can finally toss something out of my bucket list, because your boy just got crucified. Naturally, the NCR decided to send their most elite team on a suicide mission to rescue one guy. It's a part of the story, how the people at the top are so desperate for a way to win that they've convinced they've convinced themselves you're the hero who's going to save them, and everyone at the bottom doesn't buy it. Several seconds into the mission, and I'm already dead. The bird takes a hit, and damage is unavoidable, lest ye want your body to be frozen in fear as it soars through the sky. This mod does get a little graphic at times. You never really see someone with their limbs missing while still being alive in the base game. Our objective now is to rescue the courier, and let me tell you what a colossal pain in the ass clusterfuck of an adventure that was. We're so deep in Legion territory, we can practically jump rope with their intestines. They have automatic weapons, we're out in the open for the most part, they can pop up from seemingly nowhere, I have no long-range weapons, and they're not quick to kill. The grenade launcher I had was a fantastic tool to fall back on, but it ain't meant for leaning. Rely on it too much and it'll fail ye. Keep in mind I am not the courier, so all my weapon stats are at 100, my special stats are different, and I have different perks and traits. The few things working overtime for my advantage and little pay was how much ammo I had from my main gun. I had a pair of special binoclears that let me call in better and better reinforcements and airstrikes as I took out more AA guns. And I had a team of essential companions that cannot die, meaning I could mix up strategies, try attacking from far away and up close, all the while my team would carry me to safety. In the deep of the city, it got more complicated with Legion bases on the corner of every block. I started relying more heavily on the binoclears here than I did early on, at least until I got a sniper rifle and could start being effective from a much longer range. On the other side of a Legion trench, I had my first crash. Back in the game, it was broken to f***ing hell. I called in an artillery strike, and instead of turning my enemies into screaming piles of goo, they had an interpretive dance class in the sky. Had to reload a save from a good while ago to fix that, and eventually we arrived at the Tower of the Courier. Moloch the Slow greeted me at the top of the tower, gave me no option to convince him to let the courier go. Combat instigated that way resulted in my immediate demise, so I had to get creative. Call in reinforcements up to the rooftop where he is, call in a napalm strike, and call in a carpet bombing, all at once. Then, because he won't take damage just from those alone, shoot him once to piss him off just before the world ends again on him. Amazingly, despite the bombardment itself not killing him, he died, and the Lord decreed that wood is now imaginary. The wood platforms just don't work for me anymore. It's one of the weirdest bugs I've ever experienced in any game. I became my own knight in shining armor, and nearly contemplated ending it all in the time it took me to destroy this Legion tank. I was given a rocket launcher that's a one-time use sort of thing, and I couldn't tell if my shots were doing damage or if it just took multiple shots to destroy the tank. Eventually we got to the extraction point. I got caught in an eye candy sandwich between myself and another man. The other ship got shot down, and I, still not the courier, went with Hotshot to rescue them. The game fell apart hard here. This is the part where you hopelessly hold off against waves and waves of enemies. I still had my health set to 1, I didn't have God mode enabled, and yet my limbs could be crippled. I even enabled then disabled God mode just to make sure it wasn't active. My AP was all sorts of f***ed up, but I don't think it had anything to do with my health. Later on, I noticed demigod mode being automatically enabled by the game within the console command. You'll see what I mean when I get there. I couldn't take damage here because my health was at 100%, 1 of 1, and because you're not supposed to die here as it triggers a cutscene, my health can't go any lower because 0 of 1 is death, and there are no decimals. That's my guess anyway. Unfortunately, we didn't make it. None of us. This was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I get what they're going for. I do. It's just dumb as hell to see someone take 100 shots and then slowly collapse. The courier made it out. The Legion gave me the Beecher treatment by breaking both my legs and arms. I survived, bartered a bit, and got my next job, recovering the rotting corpses of my fallen comrades. This was very stressful, but I really enjoyed it. There were snipers sitting on the rooftops all over, and they weren't 100% accurate. I could sit out there and listen to where the bullets hit on the wall behind me and try to figure out where they were coming from. Found it pretty odd how rescuing the bodies is literally ripping them off the sticks and stuffing them in your pocket, but do you see any pockets on me? There was a funeral. I told everyone their friends died for nothing. Don't think they cared too much for that. I shot the boxes, met Blackthorn down in the super secret basement, and was introduced formally to the Liberator. I struggled to figure out what it was at first. Again, I wish I had my reaction to it because for a while there, I was 100% certain it's a train. It's an airship that was left untouched after the war, and they want me to help. It's bigger up close than it is at a distance. You know, like a ship. Now's not the time for the future. Now is the time for dying for so many of our men, most likely those under my command because I'm driving the tank. This was one of the most disappointing experiences of my entire life. I can only properly compare it to me being drunk on Discord and having numerous people convince me to make Cooking with Mitten Squad episode 2, but it's just me getting takeout that's left at my door. Why was that disappointing? Because after Bobby and his bitch-ass Ford Fiesta abandoned my Taco Bell order, which happened after I missed a phone call from him because I didn't recognize the area code, after all that, I ordered burgers. It was disappointing because I rambled for 7 minutes, go down the stairs. You know what, it's easier just to play it. First, what was that guy's name? Bobby? First he ditches my order. I want a Taco Bell. Left at the door. Ooh, here we go. What an adventure we're about to go on together. Here we go. I can inspect the bugs. I have a bug problem. There's a lot of bugs. There's an echo down here because the ceiling goes all the way up there. It's at least a foot away. There's no knock at the door. Let's go. I should turn off this light. People can see me. I'm wearing my Mitten Squad sweater. And he left it at the wrong place. Fucking delightful. It took me 30 minutes and 3 phone calls to get my food because I'm too much of a pussy to go outside at 10 o'clock at night while drunk in a Christmas sweater after New Year's to steal my own food off one of my neighbor's doorsteps. The tank thing? Yeah, it's just so bland and boring. Your rifle has infinite ammo and shares an approximate crosshair with the tank. There's no reason to not be constantly firing at all times. You physically can't take damage, only the tank can, and there's no way to change that, and your tank repairs itself automatically. Here's the demigod thing I was talking about earlier, with it showing up in the console commands. I'm gonna skip the rest of the tank section because there's really nothing to it. Also, the controls are janky as which is fine. I can tolerate it in this because Bethesda had to do voodoo magic to even simulate a moving vehicle in Fallout 3. Then a laser from the sky blasted us. Everyone's least favorite enemy is back. The Enclave. Boss man told me where my car was waiting for me. I forgot immediately, never found it, and never drove another car again unless I was forced to. I met up with Officer Parks south of somewhere and began infiltrating the Enclave base. To do that, we'd need wheels. Like I said, the driving controls suck. I despise them, at least for this part of the game. You need to use a boost to make several jumps, and you need to hit it at just the right time and just the right angle and the right boost to land it. I f***ed that up, but I'm not saying it again. But again, phenomenal job by the developers of this mod. As bad as I think it is, it's still far better than it should be. My job is to infiltrate the base. I was given 5 advanced stealth boys and a silenced 12.7mm pistol. There's also a guy watching my back who can insta-kill people if I get close to them and press Z. At least I'm maybe 60% sure that's what happened. You've got to hack 4 terminals to shut down the electromagnetic fence. It's a lot of stealth gameplay, which is basically the same thing over and over again. Shoot someone, move to stay hidden, shoot someone else, rinse, lather, repeat. With the defenses down, our big boys stormed the castle. I investigated the mysterious winged creature, went inside, got killed by an old man, had to take some damage there to proceed, and nano-robot machines were sent to kill us all. They're not done quite as well as synths, and their armor is bright, so it feels more like fighting robots from the future than fighting living sentient creatures from the future. So, like, we're going into space. But to get there, they need 2 simple things. 2 rechargeable sextuple A batteries, and it's gonna be a hell of a job to get them both. I got 5,000 caps for my work, then got back to work. Shades and I met up at Junkyard, Jump Heap, something like that. Ghoul Boy acted real cool by telling us about a drunk guy from the Enclave. Shades finally let me off my chain. I immediately went on a shopping spree, went to meet my contact, and got mugged by a lowlife and his son. I let them mug me, then I killed them both, looted their bodies, dropped them down into the sewage to become one with Meltman, and met the poor dude who went and lost his arms. They got stolen by skeevers. Naturally, me being the nice man I am, I went and wiped out the entire rat population of the Portland sewer system. It was biblical. Didn't find the arm though, considered killing the guy for lying to me, and had to shoot a kid. Let me explain. He asks you for money. If you don't pay up, he throws rocks at you, and a rock is enough to kill me. I know because it happened. The only way to avoid violence is to pay 100 caps or put some buckshot in his skull. With a bunch of drinks inside Carl, I'd like to think this could have been the real Carl Weezer. He explained to me where to find the batteries. One's in a church beneath the surface of the earth run by ghouls called the Church of Eternal Life, and the other is with a group of hunters living in the Hunter's Lodge, both on opposite ends of the map. 3,700 words in, still not even 1/2 of the way through this. Sound the alarm, it's time for a lightning round. Both of these are a ordeal to play through. They're great and they're fun quest lines. The Gould one especially is one of my favorites from the entire mod, but they're not related to the main story. They're forced side attractions and will be treated as such. On my way to one of them, I got distracted by a hotel filled with the adorable remains of a bloodbath, and I needed answers. Inside were warheads, slavers, spiders, and gore galore. I killed Dutch because I really wanted his armor. I should have said tried to kill Dutch because he had other ideas. Content with failure, I went down to the panic room to kill the Frost Lion. He looked a little better after I was done with him, spoke to his chained whore, shot her food, took her grenades, and set off for the ghoul hole. When dingoes are out in this field, they're tough as something that's usually pretty tough, but are slow and have no ranged attacks. Spoiler alert, to get the power cell from the cult, you must join the cult. Step 1 to joining any cult is to murder the enforcer at the door. Step 2 is to convince the high priest to let you join. The high priest is a glowing one. Insult him, tell the other priest the high guy vouched for you, you're in. Step 3. Sit in the ooze for 30 seconds. And herein lies the issue. I cannot take damage. When radiation damage passes 250 rads, I take damage and die. I didn't have enough radaway or rad-X to survive for 30 seconds. Rather than leaving and getting more, I used all I had, used God mode again, sat there, returned to the big man, and my last quest before I can become a full-fledged maniac is to get a final blessing from Ghoul Jesus. This is the kind of thing that seems great when you're really high, and is equally as great when you're not. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Ghoul Jesus is a Karen. He gives you an autograph and says he met you. Killing him does not let you wear the wig. I returned to the priest, got the power core, decided to kill the priest because I wanted his robes. That was after I killed the high priest, but before I wiped out half the ghouls and their flock. What I really did was make their faith stronger. Those close to the nuclear war had survived. The others who strayed too far paid the price for that. Next one, just a nightmare to get there to begin with. I killed a horde of dinosaurs. How do you think it went? The Hunter's Lodge is where the big toddlers play when they grow out of the ball pit. They let animals loose, you hunt them, the last one's you. Shocker. They take all your weapons, leave supplies scattered around the battlefield, and to complete the quest, you have to kill them all. Tricky to do when you can't take damage, but not impassable. A brick to the dome does more damage than you'd think. One guy only uses a spear, the dogs die in one shot, and it's really just the last guy you've got to worry about because he's got a stealth boy and a harpoon gun. But even then, you don't have to worry too much because he is dreadfully inaccurate. Bevins rewards you with the mansion and with both power cores. I returned to Blackthorn, tried to kill everyone just because I kinda had to. Not a single one of them can die. Blackthorn gave me a rundown on the group. There's engineers, and pilots, and soldiers, and doctors, and hackers, and comms guy, and the leader and me. When this happened, the only thing I could think of was that Family Guy scene with the T-Rex and the astronaut costume, but when I went to look for it, I couldn't find it. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. Regardless, we're legit going into outer space now. Tiger and Caboose immediately got sucked out into space after we arrived at the station. I should point out that this is an Enclave space station, and they've got some very sci-fi enemies here that I'm not overly fond of. Dipshit me spent a solid 5 minutes trying to figure out how to open the energy barrier before finding a simple switch. We learned of Argus. The gun from Black Ops 3 never got nerfed and eventually took over an entire space station. At this point, I got this 12.7mm revolver that is stupid powerful. Better than the Gauss rifle or my sniper rifle or anything I have except explosive weapons. Tram stopped. Me and Roach get out to investigate. The tram runs him over. It's great. Then we split off into two groups. There's me and those I plan on getting killed who will go left, and those I also plan on getting killed will go right. These stupid children took off their masks after we got to the station. I never did. That's why one of them turned into Laffy Taffy and had to be put down. Now we're at the spooky shit part of the game. An evil AI doesn't like us and is pulling a dead space. Not that that's a bad thing. You have no objective marker, you just explore and figure out where to go on your own. At one point we got stuck in the 5 quadrants room as it filled with fog and husks. A husk is what you turn into if you're outside when the sun goes down and the air fills with dust. There was another ambush in the next room. I, of course, hid in a crate the entire time. They pulled a Far Cry 3 and got demonic with their visions. Lovely. I'm a lobotomite now, and I'm trapped in a maze with maniacs who won't hesitate to punch me right in the sensitive part of my entire body. After following the red arrows and finding a key, I glitched through the wall and used that glitch to borderline cheat my way into the blue arrow room. Escaped the maze. I'm in the chamber of bottomless torment. I escaped it easily though. There was an earthquake, and there's a boss fight. Let me tell you about this boss fight. There are 4 giant psycho monsters throwing explosive spears at you from 4 directions at once. How in the sweet am I supposed to dodge 4 attacks at once when, in the best case scenario, I can see maybe 2 of those? Answer is, I didn't. I gave myself some amount of health and did the boss fight proper. If they miss wildly with their spear, it lands on the ground. You pick it up, throw it back at all 4, then a melee guy shows up. bop him a couple times, back to the 4 playground bullies again, do it a few times, and the boss fight is over. If it seems like I'm not very enthusiastic about this entire thing, the boss fight, it's because I'm not. The Cyber Husk was defeated. We all woke up in a cage. The good doctor revealed himself. We all get squished. I tried to put everyone out of their misery, but I got the timing off, got squished for real, and had to choose who to let die. Siren or Doyle. He looks like a Doyle. I let Siren die. It was a good scream. Not long and wailing enough, but solid nonetheless. Doyle and Skinless caused a distraction. I blew open a wall with a gas tank, got blown out into space, miraculously survived, and marveled at the space around me. We made it back to the station just in time for God to decide 2021 has been too good to me. It's time for pain. So many laser turrets shooting from all over, several Argus soldiers which are just like walking tanks, and the low gravity is more of a hindrance than not. Turrets go down easy, like a split second. Soldiers not so much. And because you're in the vacuum, you can't just use any weapon. It's only this, and it's got a really limited range. Aiming down the sights is an abomination. The scope of the top isn't real. It's just shit. Then you get to pretend to be 4-year-old Paul by smashing all the rocks in the world. If the rocks hit you back, it's game over for you. It's ambitious, the number of new gameplay mechanics they tried to add into the game. It's just unfortunate that I don't care for most of them. Back inside the ship, I got murdered by gravity. Thought I was being really brave by stepping on the floor that was probably going to cause damage. It didn't. I just went into convulsions instead. No biggie. Seeing signs of potential future hostility if the creatures don't care for my coming actions, I lit the plants ablaze to test my hypothesis. It didn't work out, so I killed the gardeners. Used the turret to mindlessly kill nanobots that won't fight back, reunited with Parks, tried to prank these 2 lobotomites by shoving one into the other's pod, so when they wake up they'd be in the same pod. Didn't work out. Accidentally knocked out one with a candle launcher. I think we flew too close to the sun with that one. We rescued Rogue. Watchman greeted us in the doorway with some fresh invisible ink on his face. I killed him. Parks commented on how it was probably the right thing to do. Naturally, I tried to clip around him to let him live. Couldn't do it, I'm sorry to say.
Snap out of it, Watchman. We're too late. He's already gone.
Yeah, I already killed him. Idiot. Found Turner playing with his computer. We regrouped at the tram. I took off my space suit, and I'm assuming that's what gave me the ability to jump so high. No console commands did it. We've one last test, and it's the worst part of the game. We spent 25 minutes in this room. You're supposed to survive wave after wave of enemies, but they only send like 5 at you at a time, and remember there are 4 other people on your team who cannot die. Halfway through, I couldn't wait for it to be over. To get deeper into the space station, I used my mag boots to climb a wall into a giant GTA 5 racing tunnel fit with all the hazards. Avoid the fan blades and the lasers. The fans have no trick, but the lasers are easy. You just walk forwards and to one direction until you line up with the opening in the grid. Keep moving in that opening until you're through. Then crouch to get through one because this entire thing is bullshit. Big bad doctor guy sent a heavily modified Siren out to face me for my final test. Once again, this mod manages to one-up itself. The last boss was 4 bosses at once. This one is 1 boss with the speed of 4. It should be obvious how impossible it would be for me to avoid damage during this fight with how fast she moves and how fast her projectiles move. Gave myself a bit of health. She started draining my stats. I whipped out a grenade launcher and fired grenade after missile at her until she fell before me. God would never allow me to be a Power Ranger. The body vanished. I took out a room full of stationary androids as I expected something was amiss. Activated the elevator for my friends. A baker's half-dozen police roly-polies came to life inside the computer lab. It took one of my few remaining stealth boys and my silenced weapon to best them. But what came next was far worse than anything I've faced so far. Nearly every tube in this room is filled with a person, and they all come to life to kill me. First it's 1, then it's 1 more, then it's 2, then 2 more, then 4, and before long, you're facing an entire army. This would be so very possible if I had more than 1 health. With that hindrance, I carefully considered my options. Because they only use their fists, at first I thought I could be efficient enough with a shotgun to kill them as they came. Same goes for the Lancer. That's a powerful gun I'd been sitting on. It was good, but not good enough. Eventually, out of ideas, I sat in the corner to collect my thoughts. My solution was beautiful. 1 drug to increase damage. one to slow down time, and a machine gun is all it takes to wipe them all out in seconds. The android security are not very fun to fight. There's little to no room for mistakes. If you don't nail them with a single shot that kills them, you're dead. Soon enough, I found Edmund, an Enclave soldier who really didn't want to die. He coughed up a bit of information about Argus and how I could shut it down. I've got to track down Voss, the head biology guy who's got the shutdown codes. Freak show went and got himself injured. I didn't have enough band-aids to share with the entire class, so I chose to save them all for myself. Tuner went insane and locked himself in the control chamber. I had to dive into the drink to remove the fusion cores from their bath. Tuner had his mind melted from the inside out. I killed him because siding with him and helping Argus to take over the Earth wasn't an option. Finally, I spoke to Argus. Basically, he wants to reshape life to be pure. He's got some special gas that will expunge all foulness from the Earth and its inhabitants, allowing him to start life over again. Then another boss fight. It's multifaceted and just as ridiculously convoluted as everything else. Defeat a wave of enemies, grab one of the fusion cores from the water, throw it into the lava lamp to cover it in electricity, then throw it back into the water to fry his soul. But the catch is, there's a spinning laser pointer on the merry-go-round that is the brain. Each time it goes faster, he sends more enemies in each wave, and the platforms rise and fall around him to make it more and more difficult to both get to the water and get the fusion core out. Rather than letting technology fall into the wrong hands, our noble hero chose to sacrifice the base in order to ensure humanity's complete annihilation. The only one who can stop the meltdown is quite unhelpful, a borderline burden, and is not here at the moment. Luckily, I have Officer Parks here, and he's willing to enter the machine under my command to take one for the team. His death had a rippling effect on the fabric of the universe. The game came crumbling to a crawl. Restarting fixed the issue. I made sure to put on my Sunday best and followed Badger to a secret door. Inside the president's office, I snagged the gold-plated Magnum rifle that does a f***ing absurd 111 damage per shot. For comparison, the anti-material rifle does 110 damage per shot. The secret to the entire base is the C-Finder, a tool used to control Archimedes 3. No, I'm pretty sure it's 3. Dr. Voss managed to escape our grasp one time, but it's okay. I'm a natural when it comes to video game mechanics. I was born to fly. Just as bad, if not worse, than the tank section. Actually, it's worse. There's no indicator of any kind if you're doing damage. There's no crosshair. Despite the meteoroids and 2 spacecraft, I never felt like I was actually in space. Voss's ship turned into confetti alongside the C-Finder. We casually returned to the surface of the Earth as if nothing had happened. I leveled up, took the Explorer perk for my own convenience, and now that the Enclave has been dealt with, it's time to resume the war with the Legion. Part of me thought this was the end of the NCR story. Blackthorn basically says, you've already done enough, but if you're still alive after all the suicide missions we've sent you on, we could probably find something for you to do. Wei, the assistant, was impressed at how I single-handedly took down an entire Enclave spaceship, then immediately said that what work he had was beyond me. The C-Finder managed to survive the fall to Earth, and guess who's going to find it? It's in Ostia, a pre-war museum that now just so happens to be at the epicenter of the Legion stronghold in the frontier. The NCR forces will engage the Legion to draw out their forces while I sneak inside and find the C-Finder. While looking for the armory to resupply before my mission, a doctor begged me to help with his patient. I made cookies when I was a kid. I'm more than prepared to be a doctor's assistant. All I had to do was hand him tools as he called them out. I also tried waiting and giving him nothing to see if the patient dies, and he doesn't. He sure as died when I exploded his noggin though. Then I killed the doctor and everyone else asleep in the bunks. Kinda felt bad about it. Reloaded a save, finished the operation, bought all the ammo I could, had my weapons repaired, and set off for the Legion base. I had an outfit to get me inside the first base, but I'd have to improvise to get through the next 2 gates. Spoiler alert, it all fell apart here. Normally, in a Fallout game, you kill a guard, take their uniform, put it on, sneak into enemy territory, and nobody bats an eye. Here, the instant you enter enemy territory, whether you have a Legion uniform or not, everyone instantly becomes hostile. This part with the fallen tree perfectly encapsulates everything I've said. I killed both guards without being detected, stepped onto the rooftop, and everyone lost their minds. I don't know if there's a way to stealth your way in. Probably should have tried it. I didn't try talking to too many Legion folk before I decided to go in guns blazing. It's always a foolproof fallback plan. It's only let me down just about every time. Inside was tolerable. It felt more like a Skyrim location than Fallout, but that's a forgivable crime, unlike loitering. My tactic for dealing with those loitering outside was swift and beautiful. If I attack one person, they all attack me back. Friendship is a wonderful thing, but if you throw a grenade with a rifle then immediately turn around and go back inside, people will take damage, but you'll be safely ensconced in the loving arms of a cold as building and stale food. It took me more than 20 minutes to kill every Legion soldier lurking around the campsite and watching from the towers. I even had to get creative with my use of handheld explosives to systematically melt the frame of a legionary. Back indoors, I massacred a dinner party, killed a few torturers. They weren't willing to let me join in on the fun, so I did anyway. I used my most powerful weapon to finally end Legate Valerius. Someone else finished the job. I got the Sea Finder, escaped through a waterfall, convinced AJ to join me, an NCR trooper rescued us with a car, and we had to flee to the safety of an NCR base. Maybe you can tell by where you are in the video that something funky happened here. I'll explain. I got tired of this mod. Like I've said, driving is as great as it possibly could be in Fallout New Vegas, but I still really don't like it. I'm constantly taking damage from people shooting at me and the Legion artillery fire. Staying under the overpass is impossible, and I run out of fuel before I make any real progress. And because I'm me, I ignored driving, and now I have no extra fuel to power the car. But the mission is to drive the car to safety. They say that the NCR questline is about 30 hours long, and I was only about 14 hours into the playthrough. Generally, I try to avoid anything that's gonna be longer than 12 hours because it's gonna be a motherfucker to turn into a video. If we're only halfway through this, it would mean the final video would be almost 70 minutes, and I have neither the time nor the energy to make a video that long unless it's a GTA 5 video. The Frontier, as a total package, without a doubt, I would easily place in the upper echelon of Fallout New Vegas mods. Very few mods even come close to adding the amount of content that this one does, and it does most things pretty well despite everything I've bitched about. And that's where it ends. I did not beat Fallout the Frontier without taking any damage. I'm fairly certain that I proved it cannot be done due to scripted events and other forced sequences. Every once in a while, you come across a mod for a game that is so unrelentingly absurd that you wonder how nobody made it sooner. If you're familiar with randomizers in something like Pokemon, you know how weird the game can get when they're used. And New Vegas is no exception. Can you beat Fallout New Vegas if it's randomized to f***ing hell? This is, without a doubt, my favorite mod of all time for Fallout New Vegas. It was probably the most fun I'd had playing New Vegas since my first playthrough. Before we dive nose first into the madness, I need to prepare you for what you're about to see. I'll take you through 3 events that happened in this playthrough that, in any other video, would have been one of the standout moments. But here, they're ordinary. They're a single injury in a 1,000-car pileup on a bridge that's about to get hit by a tsunami on a planet being sucked into a black hole, in a universe that's just a simulation being controlled by beings who are bored and about to reset and start it all over again. First example, after a harrowing journey through the bowels of a randomized hell, I made my way to the Strip, where I saw the entrance guarded by the usual assortment of robots, and just before I'm about to start blowing them all away, this motherfucker dressed like the lone wanderer from Fallout 3 sprints towards the gate and gets killed. Next example, I was running towards the Strip, minding my own business, when I see Victor in the distance. I thought I'd be nice and say howdy. I walk up to him, press E, and he immediately goes hostile. It was not Victor. It was some hostile wasteland creature disguised as Victor. The third thing, you'd need to see it to believe it. The Mr. House performing in front of the curtain was actually a Brahmin's ass. By now, you're probably wondering what the kind of mod is this? Well, this is the Fallout New Vegas randomizer, and it's stupendous. I'll walk you through what it is it does. NPC heights are random, their inventory, armor, and weapons are random. The contents of most containers is random. Your starting stats are random. Inventories for merchants are random. The creatures that spawn throughout the wasteland are all random, as are their sizes. The weather is random. If there's one mod you play in your life, make it this one. It's worth it. Okay. I think we're ready to start with the real game now. Into the game, the first thing I noticed was how large and laid back Doc Mitchell is. It's unsettling, but if that bothers you, you're gonna have enough aneurysms throughout this entire video to wipe out your entire bloodline spanning back to the beginning of time. I left my special stats random because it's a setup I'd never really used, took my seat, went with Barter, Lockpick, Medicine, Skilled, and Wild Wasteland as my skills and traits, got my back, and went outside to find Victor. At first I was sad, he was nowhere to be found. Then I realized he was just the littlest rat. Bartered with Chet but couldn't buy anything useful, went back outside where I noticed I was wearing a radiation suit. Easy Pete seemed to be recovering from dental surgery, Sunny Smiles seemed to be having an interesting evening, Cheyenne was suffering from scoliosis, I blew a settler's dome into the Shadow Realm to claim his weapon for myself, and abused Sunny Smiles' random generosity to claim the ultimate prize. The firearm she gives you is always random, so I went through it a few times until I got something I thought was worth keeping. In the end, I settled on the Alien Blaster because you never know what creatures you'll come across in this world. Joe Cobb was threatening Trudy, which I thought was odd given how she appeared to be a walking tank, and before leaving town I walked through the hell towards the schoolhouse to see what nightmares lie within. It was horrible. Even on very easy, with all the randomness from the mod, it was a lot more difficult than you'd expect. This mod is a work in progress. There are still some NPCs that are mostly vanilla. To make them more true to life, I killed them to make them like their McDonald's ice cream machine counterpart, and noticed the first and most annoying bug caused by this randomizer mod. Sometimes, NPCs and creatures will be immortal. The only way to fix that is to save and reload. I killed a father and son as they inspected the corpses of their fallen family members, was lucky enough to have the opportunity to destroy another family in an overturned bus where 2 coyotes usually are, fixed Snuffle's leg with my science, and spoke to Chomp Lewis about the death claws. There was a death claw, but it was small enough to not be able to catch me while I inspected the abomination that was this Protectron. I led the baby death claw to Quarry Junction Station in hopes of it killing them all. It didn't, and I began taking out all the death claws in the construction yard. There was a green gecko, an elastic Yao Guai, a lake lurk, an Eyebot. I fed lead to a Venus flytrap, that was fun, heard the feral moans of a ghost harvester, and used dynamite to blow him to hell. And then I spotted it. The white whale. The mother deathclaw. It was none other than Mr. House himself. We have still not even begun to scratch the surface of everything this mod has to offer. I sincerely hope that someone with the proper knowledge of how to make this makes the same thing for Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Skyrim. Imagine you show up to fight Alduin and Sovngarde, and it was a chicken. I spent a little while looking for the great Khans lurking out in the hills, never found them, questioned my own sanity by wondering if they ever really existed at all. The vile scum that is Malcolm Holmes interrupted me. Unfortunately, I was unprepared to battle such a monster of a man, and neither Snuffles nor the injured quarry workers cared enough to come to my rescue. Then, it hit me. Everything on Black Mountain would be randomized to hell, and I had to know what Tabitha would be. So Neil's shack was my next destination, and let me tell you, I was not disappointed with what I found. Instead of super mutants, the guards at the gate were Yao Guai and a pair of rad roaches. Killing them was always hard on me. The young Deathclaw pulled the young Sheldon and put up a hell of a fight. The top of the mountain could have been impossible. It was filled with sentry bots made out of silly putty. A weird side effect of this mod is that some creatures aren't naturally hostile towards you. You have to attack them first, like sentry bots. So if a super mutant is replaced with a sentry bot, it won't attack on sight. Tabitha's lovely friend was already awake when I entered the warehouse, and a new problem emerged from the sea. Let me see if I can explain this right. Her robot, Henry Dillman, is supposed to be unconscious on the table, but it's also an NPC. This mod randomizes it, which is why it's awake when I walked in. A lake lurk has no passed out drunk in a bowl of soup at Christmas dinner animation. I don't either, trust me. My hunch is that it's supposed to lead you to Tabitha because it's awake, but it can't, which is why the door can't be opened. Raoul let me down. I was hoping he'd be some wacky and crazy creature, but it appears as though there's a hierarchy of strangeness. Raoul is an abomination and an NPC, but being an NPC takes precedence over being an abomination, or a creature like a ghoul. After rescuing Raoul, I had my first and only crash, which is surprising as all hell considering everything this mod does. I cannot possibly overstate how much I loved this mod. I had such a great time playing through it. Want to know what Tabitha was? Have a listen.
No! I won't let you have my Raoul!
It's just marvelous, isn't it? Even with Tabitha's keys, I still couldn't escape the storage room. All the goodies inside were sealed off from this dimension forever. After informing Neil of Tabitha's demise, I sort of continued towards the strip. I wanted to get there eventually, but detours were welcomed, and on the way there, I spotted Victor and went to say hello. As you already know, it was not Victor. Tabitha's brother came to feast on my corpse. I went out of Victor's line of sight and spotted Repcon headquarters, a location filled with wasteland creatures. Off a fiend corpse, I scored 2 great weapons, a Deathclaw gauntlet added in the Lonesome Road DLC, and a unique variant of the 12.7mm pistol. One of the robots was a baby centaur. The tour guide was boring, so I tore him apart. No squares allowed on Planet Cool. The little centaur kinda popped when his soul fled from his body. The giant spore plant talking to me was just as odd as you can imagine it to be.
Unauthorized facial pattern. Please.
Same goes for the tunneler on the 2nd floor and the ghost harvester on the 3rd floor. I cardioed my way all the way up here because I remembered there's a briefcase full of money somewhere. What I got was even better than that. The Brotherhood soldier died and went to heaven, but the halo that was supposed to join him as an angel in heaven has a learning disability. It went to the wrong body and got stuck, but it's okay. I found it, and I'm gonna make that little work harder than it ever has in its entire existence since the beginning of time. It offers health regeneration, and the timing couldn't have been better. A giant Nightkin master spotted me and took umbrage with my comments towards religion. The biggest rad scorpion you've ever seen lurked down on the 2nd floor. Back outside, I scurried towards Camp McCarran to see what kind of class warfare kerfuffle would go down between the Fiends and the NCR. Remarked to myself about how we could take this mod to the next level by making all the birds in the sky random creatures too. Led the Fiends and the soldiers into each other and almost immediately lost track of who was who. I was both impressed and repulsed at how the NCR finally started adding children to their armies. It's a bold move. By the time of this fight, I still hadn't realized that the immortal character thing could be solved by loading. We entered the glowing sea. I obtained some stim packs from a traveling merchant, which was a godsend in this unpredictable world, and was oh so worried that the robot vendor at the Gunrunners would be something so small that I wouldn't be able to interact with it through the glass. Then, nightmare became reality. Almost. In the sea of irregular events, the Gunrunners offer refuge in the form of the world's most boring buoy. The Vendotron has his usual assortment of items. It's a nice thing to have. With all the different ammo types and different weapons available, it's harder than you'd think to get ammo for the weapons you have. I sold some stuff, bought more stuff, nothing in particular. Used a thermic lance I'd gotten off street trash to buy myself a service rifle and a silenced 22 pistol as weapons to fall back on. Returned to Freeside, met a Cyclops, entered the Silver Rush, saw the smallest person I'd ever seen using a banana peel as a weapon. Due to a bug, this cutscene never ends, so this part of this questline can't be played at the moment. Saw some guy with a skin condition as a member of the Kings. It's good that they're an all-inclusive bunch. Rex was a real letdown. I took a job from the Big Cheese and followed Oris and allowed Oris to escort me through Freeside. I realized about halfway through what it was he was wearing. It's the birthing suit your mother wears during the opening of Fallout 3. It made me uncomfortable to hear a man about to give birth talk about how exciting riding the Wrangler is. I initiated a war in the alleyway, got the courier's duster off a theater major. Naturally, I took the birthing skirt for myself, reported to the Kings that there was a rampaging immortal giant causing problems, took a 20,000 caps worth weapon off a King's member who died, was uninterested in whatever the King was gonna have me do next, made my way to the strip entrance, was greeted by Giraffe Man, watched the lone wanderer get killed by the strip guards, and gave a new meaning to the words Extinction Event. Then, to get in, I cheated by giving myself the 500 caps I lacked, and spoke to Victor to get inside the Lucky 38. Unfortunately, I could not speak to Mr. House. Recall what I said back at Back Mountain about hostile NPCs. I think because the centaurs and possibly the floaty guy are naturally hostile, and if they're hostile it means you've attacked them, you fail the quest because you just attacked Mr. House's guys, or at least the game thinks you did. I did take a quick trip to the top to see what Mr. House looks like, got up, went outside where Victor was unhappy with me. Then, after killing Victor, Victor came out of the Lucky 38 to avenge Victor. With Raoul back by my side, I rode to the tippy top and battled against the robots within. It took me some effort as I'd had very little in the way of healing items or weapons. Once the fighting stopped, I struggled to figure out what Mr. House was supposed to be. Then, like a bolt of lightning. I got it. Mr. House is literally a Brahmin's ass. Can you see why I love this mod so much now? Because that version of Mr. House cannot die, so too was the Brahmin immortal. From there, I found the Mr. House I'd missed as a Securitron. You know what the best part about this mod is? Nobody else is gonna have a playthrough like this. If 100 channels all did playthroughs of this mod, every one of them would have completely different experiences. Time to confront Benny. I had me a silenced weapon, but I didn't account for today being his birthday. This changes things. I swapped to hollow points, then surveyed the landscape to calculate my plan. Raoul pulled a Darlene and went after Benny. I had a quick save. I had to act fast before Raoul ruined this for us all. I got 500 caps from him, immediately forgot what he said he was doing. I went to his room, and he sent his goons after me. He f***ed up. Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Bert were no match for an angel. Turns out angels are overconfident. I retreated in time, had my weapons, forgot about Raoul, bought a grenade launcher, and began my rampage. It still did not go as planned. I put it off, went to do other things. I set my gigantic sights on Prim, battled Godzilla, bravely ran through a minefield with a broken leg, got a Tesla cannon from an escaped convict, and Father Elijah's weapon from Benny's brother. Johnson Nash appeared to be the town doctor. Prim Slim's been hitting the gym. That's such a good joke. Mrs. Nash was ahead of me in wanting to break into the safes in the room. Didn't get any good out of any of them. Decided to see which of these freaks I could kill. Got a good few of them thanks to the power of God. Alistair Tenpenny seems to have had a gambling addiction, and with Father E's gun, I went to cleanse the casino of its inhabitants. Beagle was saved. Next came the super gamblers upstairs. I was shocked to see another angel become a degenerate gambler. And just when you think this can't get any better, it does. Look at me. I wasn't gonna playtime my way through this like some fucking child. It was time to get serious. I put on my armor. Beagle was free. The town was in shambles after 40% of their inhabitants were wiped out by natural causes. Lily was a synth the entire time. Such a creature could not be allowed to live. Another mole man attempted to take me on inside a gas station. Yes Man was in jail for war crimes. I found another wild Mr. House and was almost able to attack him. I found his VATS outline. At Mojave Outpost, I took 2 jobs. One is to clear out the highway underpass, and the other is to check on Mitten. Outside, the weather started to get stranger and stranger, but this is nothing compared to what comes later. Closer to Mitten, I took on a whole host of your standard wasteland creatures like ghost people, Nickelodeon geckos, and rogue robots. The Mitten pit stop really showcased how annoying that immoral NPC issue can be. If you're attacking a group of people, there's a real chance at least one of them won't be able to take damage. And I shit you not, Oliver Swanwick was my brother, and I killed him. I don't know what game Jacqueline's got going on, but the Jacqueline I went to high school with was a so I killed her. The assortment of eye candy on the crosses was not as marvelous as I'd hoped. Neither was Vulpes, or anything he had with him. From there, I entered a portal to oblivion, and made my way to the tops to confront Benny. It went about as well as it could have, given how many chairmen were rocking the full-on cripple suit. I went outside, dropped off what I didn't need with Raoul, killed a baby spaceman, found the matching skeleton suit in Benny's room. We really were meant to be together, it seems. We complete each other. But the entire thing is heavy. If you've ever moved human bones, you'd know that. So I gave it all to Raoul, went back to my trusted gopher hat. Yes Man was sadly only short, and the time had come to handle all the other factions, starting with the boomers. Almost. Mr. House needs to go. He graced us with his presence. The real Mr. House was a sad little letdown. The sun set, and I killed George with an infinity pistol before making it through the boomer bombardment. I always knew the King Boomer would be walking propaganda. She's got a capitalism sign as her weapon. That's why I killed her with the future. I got a medicine stick off one of the boomers. Another was wearing Eulogy Jones' outfit, which makes me wonder if some Fallout 3 armors are in New Vegas by default, or if the mod added them. Next came the Brotherhood of Steel, and New Vegas turned into a f***ing horror game. I could barely see a few feet in front of me. Once it got better, I had 2 rare occurrences back to back based on the probability of what having just happened. I had some visibility at least. Then it went back to hell. I used a sniper rifle to take out the fiends staying in the destroyed ruins. Violet and her grossly deformed puppies were no match for me. Not even Violetta, her namesake and most reliable show dog. With most of my weapon skills above 60, and a weapon belonging to the final boss of a DLC, none of the creatures I found myself fighting as I took the back entrance through the canyon to Red Rock were much of a nuisance. I didn't tell you when it happened, but I found 4 holy hand grenades a while back, and I used one of them on the Great Khans inside the Great Khan meeting hut. The 2 giants predictably withstood the explosion, but nobody else did. I didn't get anything too worthwhile off of them, though I embraced patriotism and got all-American by killing a friendly soldier. Veronica was my objective. I'm trading one soul for another. She's willing to throw her life away because she's already fulfilled all of her dreams. She's already got a dress. She got me inside the bunker. Ramos wasn't taking any chances with outsiders. I found a gold bar in a footlocker, bought even more supplies from the vault doctor, and checked in on the elder. It wasn't anything too impressive. My work there was done. I bartered more, and began taking out everyone inside Gamora. The kids really can go to the moon when you blast them in the chest with a gun, or hit them with a rocket-propelled fist. The white gloves was a disaster. Someone inside was cursed. Maybe it was one of the kids, because I kept exploding no matter what I did. For a while it even transcended reloads. As I searched the corpses for toys, I noticed something. A little man blasting me. Wanna know why I thought it was a curse? Because it was so violent? This white glove spawned with a debug weapon, and I didn't even notice that it does 14,700 damage per second. I basically got the Scarab gun from Halo 2 and never used it. With the jobs done, Yes Man transferred his consciousness into the cow. The proper NPC appeared. He ran through the upgrades with nothing down there showing anything. I hadn't properly yet wiped out everything at the White Gloves to satisfy that quest, so I went back. I didn't go too crazy with the number of people I killed. It was a very controlled and selective extermination. Kimball was of no concern to me. I used Esther to wipe out everything guarding the power station, went to the dam, accidentally pissed off the NCR2, so I had to fight both them and the Legion at the same time. One was a Dr. Cowboy, another was a lobotomite farmer. This one was special. He seemed to stand for everything the Legion despises. Inside the offices, I used the alien gun because I never really used it, and I can see why. This is the video game equivalent of playing kickball during recess in 5th grade and having the teachers on your team. Like the ball kicked towards one of the faces of the children by the teacher, if my projectile hits something, it's gonna do massive damage and the corpse is gonna be unrecognizable. Mr. House, because he's not a computer, got a report on how the second battle of Hoover Dam was going the old-fashioned way, by showing up at the dam in person. This reckless idiot cost me a few of my limbs. I made sure to disrespect his body for that. The world went boring as I approached the legate's tent. I planned on laying down 9 bottle cap mines, a few regular mines, luring the legate into them, and blasting the entire thing with a holy hand grenade. What I didn't expect was that the legate would be so small. After giving him the Jesus treatment with a nail gun, Skeletor sent him to the moon. Mole Man took a bunch of drugs, Oliver tried to threaten me, a gigantic as Yes Man showed up with his most trusted Securitrons and even brought Mr. House along for the ride. I melted Oliver and his goons. Yes Man thanked me for his assistance. I shot the narrator and beat Fallout New Vegas, with it being randomized to fucking hell.